Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome back to the channel, that 70s rock fan. Thought I'd do a little bit of a vinyl from the vault today. Recently, as many of my followers know, I was over in the UK for a couple of weeks and flying back on the long transatlantic flight out to Western Canada, as well as having the time to rewatch the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I also, as you do, your mind wanders. I was sitting thinking about bands or music that I hadn't listened to in a little while, but that I absolutely used to adore. And I was really thinking about in terms of my next Underlooked Bands video, and it just came out of nowhere. I suddenly started thinking about a band called The Motors. The Motors were a English stroke Scottish, well, let's call them a British band. Andy McMaster was Scottish, Glaswegian. The rest of the band English, and then hell, there might even have been some Welsh in there later on. But anyway, British band. Let's not split hairs. The Motors, who for a brief moment in the late 70s were absolutely one of my favorite bands of that moment. And not only do I want to do an Underlooked Bands about them, but I wanted to show off a couple of my vinyl records. I've got a lot of vinyl of them today in vinyl from the vault. But briefly, the Motors came out of that power pop punk scene in Britain in the late 70s, formed from the ashes of one of those pub rock scene, one of those pub rock type bands, Ducks Deluxe, and you had Kilburn and the High Roads and Hatfield in the North and the Stranglers even, and a bunch of bands that were in that pub circuit, Dr. Feelgood, that so many of which got attached to the punk and the new wave movements. And a lot of them did become power pop bands too. The Motors being a case in point. And so they've briefly shined and then split up and went their separate ways, which I'll talk about in the Underlooked Bands video that I'm writing now. So not a band that had a great deal of success or indeed airplay in the US. One of these records may have. So I wanted to talk about two tracks in particular, and I was a big collector at the time in the late 70s, and we're talking like 1978, 1978. This single by the Motors, Airport, which became their biggest hit in the UK, top 10 hit, and marked a little bit of a departure for them from the previous more punky guitar-based sound. It's a very keyboard-driven, Andy McMaster on the keyboards, very poppy, very catchy song, entering that power pop scene. They always struck me as being a little bit like a British Cheap Trick, and I don't mean to make a direct comparison, but in feeling and in talent. I mean, great writing skills, melodic writing skills, great harmonies, fantastic players. They did a lot of the earlier stuff was punk, new wave-ish, and then kind of graduated like Airport, very keyboard driven, very melodic, great backing vocals, exceptionally catchy. Now this is the 12-inch blue vinyl single. Remember the days when it was exciting to buy this. Well, I didn't have a lot of cash, but I had to get this as I was a big fan of the Motors. This is a track from the album Approved by the Motors. I gotta get this the right way around. So there are some glorious blue vinyl there. On the B-side, a couple of live tracks from recorded at the Marquee 1977, Cold Love, which is a reggae style rocker, and then Be What You Gotta Be, which is an extremely up-tempo punk number, hard rock number. Got to number 4, I think, in the UK, inspiring their later collection, the Motors' Greatest Hit collection of their songs. Got some airplay in the US, not sure how much, but Always been a extremely pleasing part of my vinyl collection. This one, just played it again just now. Still sounds great. Little sticker on there, limited edition blue vinyl. Got to be worth at least $3 now. I don't have much valuable stuff. However, also from the same album approved by the Motors was another even catchier power pop tune, which was a bit less of a hit in the UK. However, still pretty damn good, which was Forget About You. Written solely by McMaster. Extremely poppy, catchy, hook laden. This one, also, these are on Virgin Records, as you can see, some wag in the Virgin marketing department. The vinyl is red. The label is blue. It's the Motors' new single, Forget About You. At the recommended retail price of £1.49, which I have to say at the time was a bit of a shocker because the previous one was 99 pence. And believe it or not, 50 pence was a fair amount of cash to me in 1978. You know, I could have bought another 7-inch single for that extra 50% rise in cost. So this one, as you can see, is well, it looks orange on the screen here. It's weird. Yeah, that looks orange. It's actually red vinyl. The lighting is such. I don't know if that makes any difference. No, it still looks orange. It could be my eyesight, but I can guarantee you, as I sit and look at this, it's red vinyl. How weird is that? Eh? So Forget About You, A side. The B side was a medley of tracks, all extremely poppy with lots of great jangly guitar and guitar riffs and hooks. I guess 3 tracks that were left over that they just jammed together to make a nice medley. And it's really good. It's beautiful stuff. Power pop, absolute power pop perfection. So approved by the Motors. The Motors had one more album left in them after that, and then split up. And so, interesting enough, guitarist Bram Tchaikovsky did go on to have some success in the US as a solo artist. So that will be part of the Underlooked Bands episode on the Motors. So there you go. 2 12-inch singles by the Motors from 1978, coloured vinyl on Virgin Records, still sitting proudly in my collection to this day. Well, thank you very much for watching. As I say, working on a whole video about the Motors. Should be fun revisiting those albums, tracks. And so stay tuned for that. And thank you very much for watching. Hope you appreciated it. Do all those YouTube things. Leave a like. Blah, blah, blah. I'm never very good at that promotion stuff. But yeah, if you hit the thumbs up button, that would be awesome. Thank you very much. So till next time, stay well. But most importantly, keep on rocking.